Good morning and welcome back to American Truck Simulator. My name's David Steele and here's me truck. And today we're in the Freightliner FLB. And we're going to be running a test of an engine I'm working on, which is the Cummins L10. So let's go ahead and take a look at the L10 engines I've got. I'm working on four from 1986 and one from 1992. Ranging from the 240 horsepower, both a normal engine and a formula, going through a 270, a 300, and finally peaking at the 1992 310 horsepower version. So what's the difference between the formula and the non-formula? Well, the difference is that the formula engines were designed for fleet use. They have a restricted rev range. In these cases, these are governed to 1900 RPM. These particular engines are. Some formulas are governed to a little bit more, some are governed to a little bit less. And the non-formula engines, excluding things like the fleet engine, they're typically governed at 2000 or 2100 RPM, depending on the engine. This particular 310 horsepower, that's governed to 2000 RPM. But we're not going to be playing with that today. No, we're going to go ahead and use the Formula 300, I think, today. Just because, well, it's a little different to what I've looked at before. So 300 horsepower and 950 foot-pounds of torque, which is not a lot. This is a 10-litre engine, so it's an okay amount. You know, I'm tempted to just maybe try the Formula 2. No, I'm going to stick with the Formula 300. Transmission-wise, well, I've been using a 13-speed with a really short final drive, but I think I want to go ahead and try something different. Let's switch to my transmissions. I do have the real Eaton Fuller mod installed here, but we'll go ahead and turn that off. Turn off that. Let's see what available transmissions come with the truck itself. Got to make sure that we can pass that particular test. And not the most comprehensive of choices, really. Peak torque is at 1300 revs, and so cruising at 55, if that were to be my benchmark, the 10 speed is typically 1300 revs, the 13 speed is typically 1200, and the 18 speed is typically 1100. I don't know that I really want to condemn myself to a 10 speed. Let's go ahead and just let's pick a 9 speed. On the real Eaton Fuller. Thinking maybe a 3.9. Final drive, maybe a 4.1. 4.11 even. I think we'll go with that one. Let's go ahead and feed that into my my data sheet. The estimates will be cruising at 55 at just under 1400 revs. That feels it's about right. I think it's 1375 as the actual number, but whatever. That will do for me. Anything else I want to do with the truck? I don't think so. I'm using what I'm calling my realistic profile. It's not necessarily the most realistic settings that you can have in the game, but it's nice and red. It's just to make the game a bit more of a challenge. Let me see. I'm using Dynamics tires. Kind of feel like spending money on some Michelins. If you think that that's a really terrible idea, let me know in the comments below. I don't know which ones to go with, really. I'll go with these. D+, the Energy Z, the Energy D. We'll go with the Z. That's $15,000 to change all that hardware, and I've only got $30,000 in my account. That's fine. Let's go ahead with that. We've covered about 2,100 miles, I think, and no great shakes on the damage. Right. Let's go ahead and jump back into the cabin. I'm going to head and start the truck, get the lights on. We're in Vegas this morning. I'm going to check the map. Looks like I haven't been to Vegas at all in this profile. Okay. That's a heavy load to Kingman. It's a 4x2, and I think that might be a little bit too heavy for my weight restrictions. So I'm going to go with the industrial pallets, I think. Would like to keep this semi-realistic in terms of the cargoes that we take, and there are restrictions per axle. We'll go with this one. Okay. I do have a manual gearbox, but I'm going to be driving it automated because I'm testing the shift points of the engine as well as how well it performs. Let's go ahead and head towards the cargo. So far so good. I started working on the L10 a little bit after the NTC Big Cam and the KT. I'm using the same sound stage as the Big Cam and KT, and I may well end up using the same for this. I suppose I should really put the M11 onto the same sound stage. Well, cross that bridge when we get the mod closer to being updated with these engines. And depending how well the time goes between me recording this video and you watching it, it's entirely possible or plausible that the L10 will already be available.
Go straight.
Well, we'll see. Right now it's setting up to be a fairly big update with Cummins engines from 3 families, and you know, if I were to update the M11. So what's Vegas like at 5:30 a.m.? Appear to be busy. Well, not busy actually. Okay. Well, picking up my cargo very, very soon. Once we get going. Let's check for police chases taking place. Hotels are this on the left. I don't recognize the skyline in Vegas anymore. I don't think I ever did. Not competently. So far, it's performing just fine, but we wouldn't expect any different with no weight behind me. Got roughly half a tank of diesel right now, and I'm not going to need to buy any fuel. Kingman's not a particularly particularly long trip, and I know that route fairly well. It's a good benchmark, a good personal benchmark for how well an engine is set up at the sort of highway speeds. Limits of 55 to 65 miles an hour, so nothing too outrageous, but useful just to test how well these engines and transmissions are going to run. Tiny little fella, really. Bigger tank on the right compared to on the left. Actually, I could really do with seeing where my cargo is, but oh, okay. Let's get my windows down. I guess it's around the corner. Okay, it is. Okay. One of the massive benefits of a cab over design is the tiny turning circle. This thing's turning circle is really, really small. Very handy for nipping in and out of cities and congested depots and so on and so forth. Depots. Interesting. Cargo drop. Well, I'm going to worry about that right now. Let's go ahead and do that. Get it out of reverse. Connect to the trailer. Raise my ride height. I'm not using advanced coupling right now. I was using it earlier, but I've stopped using it. It's a very pretty skyline. To the cell mast there. Right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and head out. Okay, that was... Let's stop and restart. That was quite the torque flat spot. Okay, it's not so terrible. I've bolstered the L10's clutch engagement torque by just a little bit. It's targeting, I think, 650 foot-pounds. That is not a lot compared to modern stuff. It's about the same as a Cummins KT, which goes with the generation, but the ISX12 has an 800 foot-pounds clutch engagement torque, and a lot of the 15 litres are at the sort of 1000 foot-pounds torque point. The relevance of this is, well, clutch engagement torque is essentially the torque available round about idle speed. Now, the higher this amount, the harder it is to stall, and or the easier it is to get a fairly heavy load moving off, or factors to get moving off in general. So 650 is not a lot. I think originally I was programming it in at 500, give or take. That was a challenge. We're using the automated gearbox. You can't finally control the clutch. You have to rely on the game to do it for you. So you don't really get a feeling of how easy it's going to be to stall. But I imagine those are my buddies that use a clutch pedal. And here I'm specifically thinking of Zach. Although it's amusing when he stalls an engine repeatedly in convoy mode, eventually I don't wish to hear the sound of a steering wheel being removed from the desk and flung through the monitor. It can get a little frustrating. Right, well, it's cleanly shifting this 9-speed so far. But I've been modding engines for a couple of years now, and if I can't get it shifting cleanly with a 9-speed and a not really low output, then maybe I'm doing something wrong. Idle is set for 700 RPM on this particular engine. I set it a little higher on the older engines. It seems to be what they are set to, for, I'm guessing, smoothness reasons. It does make it a little easier to help move off from rest, because you've got that little bit more of a buffer. There's a certain point in an engine's rev range when the amount of torque it produces, at least in the models that I produce, drops off very, very quickly. And having it at 700, this engine's 440 RPM. You've got a bit more leeway. As you move off, the revs will tend to drop. And if that engine speed drops to 440 RPM, or drops below that, the torque it falls very, very quickly. And below 300 RPM, you're pretty much asking for it to stall. Longest red traffic light ever. Well, I got 6 hours to get to my destinations, or 5 hours 47, so it's not like I have to have the traffic light go immediately, but it would be nice. I was going to say I was going to inch it forward, but the light's already turned, so great. Don't think I need to be in the middle lane. No, I need to be in the right lane eventually. Okay, I guess we'll merge now. Make my life a little easier. I mean, it's not busy, but check a couple of things here on the map. Yeah, I've done this route so many times, and it's not a bad thing. I've got to remember that this cargo overhangs the trailer just a little bit. It's easy to forget that and end up clouting something with your cargo. Now, if it's a Prius or another car, okay, oops. But if it damages your cargo, if you get bits of Prius stuck in this case in the pallets, that's not good. That damaging your cargo is never a good thing. Let's get off the power. We'll coast up to the light. All this traffic around me being very well behaved. It's good to see. A little bit of service brake. Did he run into the back of the guy in front? Did this Mustang crash? Okay, come on. Go forwards. I can only assume that it had a little drinky or some other substance, and that's why they drove to the back of it. Looked like an Audi. Well, I don't mind that so much, because Audi's not my favourite brand. But, yeah, did you just crash? Hang on, what did the kids say? Bro, did you just crash? Yeah. It doesn't just happen to me.
Turn right.
Okay, we'll turn right, and then we want to be in the left-hand lane. Supposed to stop up here, so we'll stop. Like so. Yeah, so moving off from rest, it looks like the engine revs drop to 500 RPM before they start to recover. So everything being equal, if it was idling at 650, it would drop to 450, and that's getting really close to that sort of 440 RPM magic point in the tachometer. If it idled at 550, you'd be looking at sort of something like 400, give or take. That is asking for trouble. Of course, the enders with a lot of torque low down. Or if I remember simulating a hybrid or an electric motor, they don't suffer from the same issue with low down torque. But what they do suffer from is that engine drop. And yes, I'm going to turn left into the right-hand lane. I don't think this is what you're supposed to do. See it happen all the time. It's supposed to be in the left-hand lane and then merge right. It's one of the most ignored rules I see on the road. Okay, but stopping before turning right, that's always a good thing. Okay, I'm going to swing it wide and then cut into the right. I would like it if we didn't have to stop, because this on-ramp, oh, I have to stop. This on-ramp has me climbing a hill. And even though this engine's sort of 950 foot-pounds of torque, the least powerful is 860. It's still not a lot of torque to climb the hill with, so getting a boost is useful. Well, we stopped, and now we're going to go. So I can safely merge into the left-hand lane here, and I'm not giving it full beans, but I'm giving it progressively more and more power. I get it up to 20, which I've just done. I can hit cruise, like so. I think my cruise is set at 35, so I'll tap it up 4 times, which should in theory get me to 55. Probably want to look over my shoulder, but I'm going to trust that there's nothing there. There we go. Okay. There's 35. And this section here, this is a good judge of the shift points. If we shift a little too early and we're in the next gear up, we've not got enough power through that gear, we end up having to change down very, very quickly. So here, yes, it shifted up. It's losing a little bit of speed, but I kind of expect that. And we're probably in 7th, maybe. Let's check. Yes, we are. Yeah, we're in 7th. So the 9 speed is configured as an 8, 8 speed with a low. We're now down to 6, and it's putting me at the 1600 rev point. That's perfectly fine. Peak power for the Formula engines is produced at the 1900 RPM governor, but it's got a decent amount of torque at sort of 15 to 1600 RPM. I'm all over the road as I tell you this. Okay, let's put me in 7. Let's see if it puts me in top. It should do. There we go. And then 55 is 1400 and something. 13, yeah, that's perfect. That's about the right gear ratio. I'm speeding a little bit, but we're not going to worry about that too much, because we're about to increase the speed in theory. I'll tap it up now. I'll just preempt that. Bit of a hill here, so it's probably not going to get up to 65 anytime soon, but it will when we crest the hill. This is, you know what, I realised I announced that I was in the Freightliner FLB. I most certainly am not. There's a big Kenworth badge on the steering wheel, for goodness sake. I'm in the Kenworth K100E. It's an overfloater truck, I believe, and I can't believe I got that horribly wrong. Something to look forward to when I edit this then. Right, well, 65 on the speedometer, roughly 1650 on the tachometer, and it's perfectly comfortable, like whoa, like this. I'm gonna have to actually tap down the cruise control. I think I'm catching up with the traffic in front of me. It's only 300 horsepower and 950 foot-pounds of torque, but it's not the heaviest cargo in the world. Let's face it. It's not even 20,000 pounds. So okay, fair enough. It's another good challenging hill. How good can it go up a hill in top gear? I think it's going to do it without changing down. Yeah, what do you know? Okay. I've got no complaints with this engine definition so far. Fuel consumption for the L10 so far, it's been about what I would expect. You have to rev it a little bit more than the newer engines. That does dent consumption just a little bit, but it's only a 10 litre capacity engine, so that helps mileage. I would expect somewhere between 6 and 7 from a trip like this. Maybe, yeah, it's between 6 and 7. It's a lighter cargo, but we're doing the speed limit, so we're doing 65. We're seeing 60-50 RPM on the tacho. It's using the revs as it goes through the gears, and it's hilly. And I've got to say, that is not a bad result, all things being equal. See if we have to pull in to be weighed. Have to find out. Yep, we did. Okay. So, get on the engine brake, tell the world we're pulling in. I'm going to force it to shift down, like so. There we go. And again, don't want to speed. Okay. So I may have broken the 35 mile per hour speed limit just briefly there, but I was able to get down to 15 with the engine brake and forcing it to downshift, or encouraging it to downshift, or hinting at it to downshift. Let's see, what do we reckon? So we're probably 30, well, maybe 50,000 pounds gross weight here, I'm guessing. Let's find out. 46, okay. So not exactly a heavy combination, and not really what you'd expect from a 4x2 with a 10 litre engine. It's not a medium duty engine, but it's certainly leaning more that way. Right, I'm going to get... Yeah, I know I'm speeding, Doug. It's fine. I told it to resume. It's going to take me back up to 65 in theory, but I think we're going to run out of road. Here we are. So tapped it down to 45. Do we go straight over, under the highway? Yes, we do. And then I guess we turn left a little bit. Speeding again. Oh, now speeding. So I'm going to use the left lane. It's killed my cruise completely. We'll coast up to these lights. Coasting saves a lot of fuel because you're not burning anything as you still run down the road. Can't do it forever though. Okay, so the lights have turned to red. That's okay. Let this thing slow itself down. Bit of service brake here. Right, well, I have to say, as far as the mechanics of shifting gear and how well it performs, I'm happy with the L10, and I don't think I've shown the L10 on the channel so far, but I'm happy with this. It's performing as I would expect. I got to do some more testing. Got to check the fuel consumption. Do spend a bit of time getting that to be right, but it's hard to know what it should be because some truckers claim that they're, as an example, their M11 works great with a 264 final drive, and it's only a 10 speed, and it's an overdrive, and it gets 9 miles per gallon, and it can haul any cargo and still get 9 miles per gallon uphill barefoot. I'm not saying that all truckers don't do this, but sometimes there's a bit of performance optimism, one might say. So when I see people with an L10 and they're grossing 60,000 and they're in a 4x2 and they're still getting 8 to the gallon, I'm like, yeah, what's your final drive? And you're using a 10 speed. So don't always trust the figures that I get, but ultimately going to see if it passes the whole sanity test. Let's move this forward. Right, well, I think that just about wraps up today's video. So thank you ever so much for staying put and watching it. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have, you know exactly what to do. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much, everyone. Goodbye.